it works. There we go.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Doing excellent. So I'll just jump right into it. It's the EricSwahnRacing.com podcast. I believe it's going to be 111 with Sophia Oberlander. So thank you so much for coming on and talking to me for an hour or two. And I just want to share your story and get to know you a little bit more.
That 111. It's definitely synchronicity. I like that for me.
Yeah, it's cool to be in the triple digits and just talk to so many different people. And I've been trying not to overlap any one person within 12 months so that I get a variety of different people and not rely on one individual.
Yeah.
So it's made me reach out to new people, and I met you at the track actually, and you had already known about me. You've been watching some of my podcasts before, so that was really cool to meet an actual listener.
Yeah. Yeah, that was really cool. I remember you telling us your name, and I was like, "Wait, are you? No, you're not."
Yeah,
I really loved your podcast with Billy Ball, and I've been watching since. I'm excited about when they just came out with electric eye images. It's on my list to watch. I'm sorry, my dog decides to be a menace. He's usually very good, but he's there.
No worries.
Do you have dogs or cats?
I have a cat. I have a cat named Luna. I got her about 2 months ago. At one point I had 4 cats.
Okay.
I didn't want a cat. My girlfriend at the time wanted a cat, so we compromised and got 4 cats.
Doesn't sound like much of a compromise.
So I ended up starting to like them, and I just never had a cat before. I'd always wanted a dog, but my parents went the route of getting rabbits instead, so a little different. So not the most cuddly creatures. They just kind of scurry away from you most of the time and poop everywhere.
Yeah.
It was kind of a different, unique experience. I also had fish growing up. I had a saltwater fish tank of my own that I had corals and live rock and live sand and all that stuff. And even like I had Nemo, the clownfish and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
a lot of different animals, but never had a dog. I'd love to have a dog, but I'm gone too much. I'm at the racetrack almost every weekend, so I'd have to hire someone to watch my animal half the time.
Yeah, we just started taking him to the track with us, and it's been an experience. I've had several dogs all grown up, so I'm decent at training them, but it's gonna take a minute. He's still 2-3 years old, so definitely puppy energy. It's a lot to have me on track, my partner on track, and the dog. So it's a lot.
Tie him to the truck. I hope he doesn't escape, right?
Yeah, and then he just sits and barks and whines and annoys everybody around us.
So what is your training method? Do you go with the Cesar Millan type style? I kind of like his methods of teaching dog training.
I copy a lot from Cesar Millan. I really like Zach George. I'm basically just have stolen all of his techniques. They're what I found works best for what I'm comfortable with and my dog in particular. And it's really just a matter of he listens great at home all the time. It's when there's distractions out because he's kind of our pandemic dog. So I didn't get to socialize him as much. So he's still like really gets really excited with like new things and people and other dogs.
Yeah, that's understandable. New environments are difficult.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I got Luna now. She's a black, I guess medium to long-haired cat, and she's like 1 year old. It's the first cat I've actually purchased. Every other cat I've had has been from the streets. We just accepted them in and made sure they weren't chipped or anything like that already. Got them chipped, got them all their vaccinations and all the shots. But there's a lot of cats just roaming the streets.
Yeah, they need homes. They need good homes, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So, so you come from the motorcycle world. That's why we're here today. So you were a track day rider, sounds like, and getting pretty low, getting your knee out, getting your body position right. Sounds like you're starting to learn some of the tricks of the trade.
Yeah, this is only my second season on track. I started, I think, late August of last year. So I got like maybe 3 or 4 track days in last season. And then once this season rolled around, it's been absolutely gung-ho. We ride pretty much every damn one that we can at Gingerman and Graton. And then we went up to ACC for the first time and rode the North Course. I really enjoyed that track. We're trying to get down south for one come the winter time. But we'll see what we end up doing.
Yeah.
My boyfriend is actually I'm sorry, I'm gonna butcher all the terminology, but he's like a novice racer for WERA.
Okay.
I think that's what it is. It's novice, advanced, and then pro, right?
For track days, it usually goes novice, intermediate, advanced, and then for racing, for WERA, they have novice and then expert, and then from there it would be professional Moto America.
Okay, got it. Yeah, so just the bottom one. He's done 2 races and he did really good this last one. So following in Billy's footsteps, we're trying.
Yeah, and he's got the yellow plates. He's a novice, but he's it's different than being a novice track day guy. You're above advanced track day guy if you're a racer.
Yeah, it's intense. It's intense for me to watch, and unfortunately, I think I might have caught in the bug and be looking into getting a 400 to do some endurance races next year. We'll see.
Yeah. So what kind of bike are you? Is he riding, and what kind of bike are you riding?
So I'm on a 2013 636. It's kind of a special bike because one of the coaches at Sport Bike Track Time, Glenn, he actually built the bike from scratch, like right off the lot, immediately 0 miles, turned it into a track bike. So when I got it, it's a 2013, I got it this season, only had 1,800 miles on it.
Nice.
So it is a dialed bike. It's fantastic. And then he's been running R6s the entire time, but he's been through, I think, 1 R6 rebuild from his first crash of the season, and then the second crash totaled, and now he's on a different R6 that we got down in Ohio. So finally got that one dialed. Hopefully it'll be okay.
Yeah. Well, good. And so you're both in the middleweight class, the 600s, and do you think that's a good place for people to start out? How has it been treating you?
So honestly, I would recommend more people to start out on track on smaller bikes. I came from street riding for 4 years, I think. 4 years, 4 or 5 years, 2 of which being like mainly just cruisers, and then mainly like a cruiser with a little bit of crotch rocket riding. I had an old CBR F4i that I stunted badly.
Did some wheelies and circle burnout, stuff like that.
Yeah, we actually ended up meeting the dude that bought my F4i at ACC. He was there, and he was like, he saw on the back of my suit, I have wild wahine, and I had welded a neuter bar for the old F4i with wild wahine, and it was driving him insane because he bought this sold out bike. He's like, what the hell is this? So he happened to see my suit, and I was like, oh, funny coincidence.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then so after that, I got in a really bad crash on the street right before I was supposed to go onto the track, and that landed me with Francine. It's I broke my spine and avulsed 2 or 3 nerves in my brachial plexus.
That sounds
So it was pretty gnarly for about 9 months. I couldn't move this arm at all. Like it would just hang there. That I actually started to get some separation between like my collarbone and my humerus because the arm was just hanging. And then I got spontaneous recuperation back in February of this year and have been going ham and training really hard and trying to build as much muscle as possible. And then I was supposed to get surgery to try to get some of the external rotation back earlier this month, but that got postponed. So hopefully end of September, I'll get that surgery and maybe they'll be able to get some nerve function back. We'll see.
Yeah, nerve pain and nerve damage is a scary thing. I had some nerve damage in one of my crashes, and my entire left arm was numb. Same kind of thing. And I thought it was permanent. At first I was like, oh no, this is gonna be permanent. This is a terrible thing. And you do have nerve regeneration, but it's like 1 millimeter per year of growth. It's very, very small amounts.
Yeah, it's really slow. Unfortunately, so I still have numbness. The numbness itself should become, so there's the motor neurons and then the actual sensory nerves. Motor neurons is what we're trying to recuperate right now, but it's usually like a year to 18 months, really, if you're pushing it to do like any sort of intervention with those. And once you miss that window, motor neurons for like actual function, they'll really just die off and stop healing. Sensory nerves have, 2, 3, 4, 5 years to continue regenerating and continue growing back. So hopefully the numbness will go away eventually, because I'd really love to be able to feel my whole throttle hand again.
Definitely. I'm sure that's a challenge for riding on the track.
I've had to do a lot of hacking and maneuvering and weird things to make it work, but I make it work.
Yeah, modifying a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I just got a monkey grip that I'm really excited to try out. So hopefully that's good. We're going to be at Graton for this Fox Day and then the counterclockwise weekends.
Nice. So tell me about the monkey grip. What does that do for you?
It's just a tank extender, basically. It's like extends you back like that much, and then it has really wide, because the Kawasaki tank, it's just, or at least the 2013 model, it's a lot higher and more narrow towards the back. So I find it hard, especially because I have like short legs. So I find it hard to get my outside anchor point sometimes, and it like messes up my upper body to really hook into it. So it just creates this extra little flare that I can literally just dig my leg up into. I haven't technically used it yet, but I've heard really great things from all of my friends who have them. So
Yeah,
excited.
it's a newer concept. I think it's a newer product, but
Mhm.
I've seen many people use it and talk really good things about it. I just did coaching, my first actual on-track racing race coaching for a sport bike track time yesterday at Graton.
Did you really? How was that?
Yep. So I did. I was the lead novice instructor. So I didn't teach the classroom, but I was the group 1 novice instructor. And
Nice.
so there's like 6 or so different groups. We have maybe 8 students per group. And so the faster people for novice, who raises their hand, who's been here before? The fastest group, the fastest riders go up to the front, and the slower riders, based on self-assessment, and maybe they've never been to Graton, will go further back. And so we give them all individual coaching. We do classroom sessions. We work on things like body position, your eyesight, your perception, your vision on track. Even we do drills like, I'm sure you've been through it if you've taken the novice course for sport bike track time. We have a 3rd or 4th gear drill depending on your motorcycle. Keep it in 3rd or 4th gear the entire time. I chose 3rd, and on a 600, that's just plenty for Graton Raceway.
Mhm.
And no brakes. So don't use your brakes at all. Just roll on, roll off, and coast into the corners, and get back on the throttle once you cross that apex. And people are so afraid of going off the racetrack, they don't realize that when you're turning, you automatically are scrubbing speed. Turning is effectively a brake without even touching the brakes, because all motorcycles, all cars want to go straight. Anytime you're turning them, they're going to be slowing down.
Listen, it took me a while to learn that.
Sure. So it's getting over your head of your, what they call your survival reactions, right? Oh, I'm going to crash. I'm going to start to panic. So I want to put on the brakes, but you can actually go into that corner like 40 miles an hour faster and still make it out the other side just fine. So it's about like lowering these barriers of increasing your trust in the tire, your confidence, but lowering your fear is a big part of riding quickly and safely on a motorcycle.
Yeah, that's one of my big goals for Graton this time around, is to really haul it over the hump and don't fucking touch my brakes until after I tip in. Just leave them alone. I don't need them. Especially through the canes, you get the uphill. Like, I can scrub all of that speed. I don't need to. I just need the balls to push through it. Which again is like, I'm on a 636 because I came from like sport bikes of that CC power range from the street. So I think that I would just get pissed off if I went down to like a 400 or 300. Racing's a different story, but like track, just getting my boots blown off every single time on the back straight. So, but I do think that if I hadn't come from, 600 class sport bikes on the street, I would have done so much better on a 400, because they're so light, they're so easy, they're so much more forgiving. Like, I would have so much more trust in the machine and in myself and my motor controls to like send it through a corner harder. At least I feel like I would.
Yeah, and that's interesting that the lightweight bikes, the 400s, even the 250s, can go through the corners actually faster than the 1000s do. They weigh less, they have less mass, they can get through it faster. Now the 1000s are going to exit way quicker for sure, but they are taking different lines. So also on the lightweight bikes, you go through tires less quickly. You're going to have more longevity. You're not spinning up the rear as much. Your parts tend to last a little bit longer. When you crash, the parts, you don't have as many parts to replace. So there's a lot of benefits to it. I would always recommend everybody start on a 400, but I started on a 600 at the racetrack. I rode a 250 for 4 years before even going to the racetrack. So I think that's really good foundation to start with. You shouldn't be like maybe your first time ever riding a motorcycle at the racetrack. I mean, you could probably do it, but I wouldn't recommend it. You want to be like comfortable going on the highway first a couple of times, maybe a season or two, probably. But I've heard there's almost first time riders. It looks like they're first time riders anyways. Sometimes it's kind of scary looking. And I'm like, I wish I could have a headset and talk to you on the track, because 20 minutes is way too long for you to be riding like that on the racetrack.
Yeah, I hear that. It's it's a toss up for sure. I mean, my buddy, he went down at Gingerman this last 4-day weekend that we had there, and his wife has been wanting to. They were both like riders on the road previous, and she got her MSF and stuff, but then she had their kid, and so obviously she hadn't been riding for the last 16 years, but now she really wants to get on a bike and go do track with her husband. And I'm like, send it, go for it. I mean, take the MSF course, take an advanced MSF course, and then go be the slowest in novice. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and everybody has different goals. When I went to the racetrack for the first time, I had no intentions of racing. That was not my goal. I just wanted to ride my bike the way it was designed in an environment that's the safest and predictable. So I didn't want to get in trouble with the law, and this is a great place to learn your skills. And there's no minivans, there's no sand in the corners. It's predictable. If there's a turtle that runs on the track, there's a flag marshal with a debris flag. There's everybody's watching, and you got multiple track marshals all around the track, there for your safety. Helping you out, running out and picking up a bike if that needs to happen. It's great to be to use your bike in that environment.
Well, and just the wealth of knowledge. I definitely I would not be as good of a rider as I am today without several choice coaches taking time to work with me individually in between sessions, helping me in my track binder, scribbling down notes frantically, towing me around. That one-to-one, working with a coach and getting advice from different people, some of which didn't work for me at all, but some of which I am going to use for the rest of my riding career. Fantastic advice. Kenny White, great racer. Can't say enough great things about him. Awesome coach for STT. It's just STT is obviously the only organization I've ever done track with. I'm not even sure what other ones there are, but I can't say enough good things about them.
Yeah, and you're from Michigan, is that right?
I'm from Hawaii. Yeah, I lived on Oahu for 4 years, and that's when I decided to get my first bike. And then I had a little moped when I lived on Maui previous to that. And I kind of knew that I wanted a motorcycle in the future from riding around this little dingy moped.
Yeah, and where are you living now?
I'm here in Michigan, Kalamazoo, which we're pretty lucky, as far as I know, to be within 45, 50 minutes of Gingerman, and then an hour 20 from Graton.
That's great.
Pretty
Yeah,
nice.
I'm about 2.5 hours from each, and then same distance to Mid Ohio. Autobahn's a little bit farther, in Joliet, Illinois, but they're all within a couple hours. And it's interesting to me, trying to teach new people and educate the new generation of riders. Nobody knows where any racetracks are. You have to seek out this information. But I can think of at least 6, maybe 7 in Michigan. There may be 8, but they're not all sport bike racetracks. There's Graton, there's Gingerman, are there really the only 2 sport bike tracks in the state that I know of. But there's tons of motocross tracks. There's ovals, dirt ovals that they have races in. There's a couple of kart tracks. There's a couple supermoto tracks. There's one in East Lansing. There's one in Flint. There's one in Jackson, Michigan. They have smaller indoor kart tracks in Novi and Sterling Heights in my home city. And probably more motocross tracks than I could count. But unfortunately, I guess Graton's racetrack, their motocross track, is going to be killed. It's done after this season. They're not
Oh,
going to be
no.
they're not going to be upkeeping it anymore. I'm not sure all the terms or why, but I flagged for AMA District 14 a couple rounds ago at Graton. They kept saying, yeah, it's one of our last events here. I'm like, okay, well, why? They never explained the details, but I think it's just such a small turnout for the events that they're not going to be able to maintain it anymore.
Yeah, that sucks. That's also another aspiration. I'd love to get out on dirt and learn how it feels to have the rear tire get super squirrely on me, because I do not trust my tires nearly as much as I should. And I think a lot of my friends who have dirt experience, who grew up doing dirt bikes, that's why they're so much better a lot of the time, is that they will spin out the rear and slide and be like, okay, well, I know kind of the boundaries of what I can do and what I can't do. That sucks about I really wanted to do it at Graton.
Yeah. So if you want to do it, I think there might be 1 or 2 more rounds left, and then maybe no more. Now, Graton is for sale for anybody watching this. I think it's for sale for $7 million. So if anybody's got a couple of pennies in the bank they're not using, it could go to a good cause. And that's a fantastic facility. They have huge camping grounds. There's a motocross track that people say is one of the best in the country. And they talk the same way about the road course. Now, sure, some of the buildings could maybe be improved and facilities upgraded, but there's room for growth. There's room for opportunity. They used to have WERA Nationals and endurance races at Graton many, many years ago. So it's one of the best tracks in the country as far as technicality. They always say, if you can ride Graton, you can ride anywhere. It's so blind. You don't know where you are until you're on top of it. You can't see because of all the crests and elevation and dips. So it's very difficult and off camber, on camber, a lot of banked corners, which is unique.
A lot of asphalt patches that get real slippery.
A lot of different patches, which is kind of helpful because you can pick out your reference points a little easier. I'm like, I'm braking on that third sealer strip from the left, and you can kind of write these things down on your track notes and reference them next time.
Helpful till you're braking right on a tire snake.
Yeah, the sealer strip. But sometimes the fastest guys will say, if it's really good conditions, if it's hot out here, those sealer strips might have more grip than the pavement does.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, a lot of it's just funky the way that track is. But like I said, it is one of the most challenging tracks in the country. And if you can do that one, you can do any of them. And it's slowly been growing on me. I was not a fan at the beginning of the season, and now I'm like very much looking forward to the 3-day weekend that we're going to have there. And just getting better. It is one of those tracks that will push you to be better. It will give you no choice.
Yeah. You're going there at the end of the month. Is that the 26th, 7th, 8th of August?
Yeah, it's a Friday, Fox Day, regular direction clockwise, and then both days after that are counterclockwise. I actually really prefer it counterclockwise, so I'm super stoked about that. It just opens up the track a lot more. You have a lot more room to see what you're doing and like where to go. And that's one of the things that I struggle with, is like looking where I'm supposed to look properly. So I'm super stoked. And then that'll probably be the last ones that we're going to be able to do up here in the northern circuit for this season. And then we'll figure out somewhere down south to go.
Nice. Well, I will be there. I'll be there the 28th on that Sunday, the last day of the 3-day weekend. So I'll be camping there, probably show up Sunday night and, leave. I'll get there Saturday night, sleep the night there, wake up in the morning, and leave the day of on Sunday.
Perfect. Yeah, your setup was pretty minimal, if I remember.
Yeah, it's not too bad, just a little canopy. Well, actually, I think I was borrowing either your canopy or your generator that weekend that I was there with Billy.
It was Billy's, yeah. He left it with you so that we could tow. That was the weekend that Floyd totaled his bike. So there was some shuffling going along.
So yeah, I appreciate you helping me out with the transportation of that stuff, because I was just getting back into it, borrowing a bike. I didn't even own the motorcycle. And so I still actually got to pay the guy, my buddy Omar. I was not planning on buying this bike, and then I got an opportunity to coach for STT. I'm like, well, I guess I'm going to need the bike some more. So I was like, I just can't keep borrowing it from him. So I stepped up and said I'm going to buy it. So now we just got to do the transfer of the bill of sale and all that stuff and get the cash payment over to him. So super happy that he lent me the bike. I just out of the blue that, hey, I need a bike for this race coaching tryout, and that's when I went down to Virginia, did the California Superbike School, and I'm still waiting on the final yes, no, say so on if I got the job or not. But I passed the writing portion. I passed the oral exam as far as like being able to speak about the material and not sound like an idiot, right?
Yeah.
It's cool. It's like I said, I did my first ever coaching yesterday at Graton for a different organization, STT, and it was so rewarding to see these little birds learn how to fly at the end of the day. And actually, one of the guys gave me a really good shout out online on Facebook, and he said, "Thank you so much for your coaching. It made my riding night and day based on your one-on-one instruction." And that's really good to hear for me, because I want to be telling you guys the right things. I want to be actually helping, and it's cool to see that they're actually making strides and progressing, and not just plateauing, and going faster and safer out there. Because I see when I was going around, it's easy to sit on the bike in the pit lane and do your body position drill and hang off the bike. And this is how you look. Okay, yeah, I'm going to do that on the track. And then I'm following different people, and their butts not even moving a millimeter from turn to turn. And their upper body might be 3 degrees tilted one way. I'm like, you got to get off the bike. Like, you got to put half of your butt off the seat completely. You got a really good separator in the middle, It's a good indicator where you want to put your other cheek. And so just instilling that, and locking your elbow with your knee, elbow in front of your knee kind of thing, in that body position, get your arms low. It's a night and day difference in your riding style versus straight up and down, no lean angle with your body at all, and just stiff arming the bike. The bike's not going to want to turn very well.
Yeah, it's crazy how much, like, sometimes that feedback, like, you can hear it again and again. Like, I've listened to the Ken Hill podcast twice over, and I still actively go back and listen to ones that I'm specifically struggling with. So, like, my brain knows the information, but it's so funny how, like, literally just this last weekend at Gingerman, I had like another click of like, oh, I knew that I should be doing this whole time, but I was doing it completely different. And it's funny how I'm still like low grade, low pack, intermediate, but it's definitely helped shoot me up a lot more as far as my ability to stay on the bike better, if that makes sense, or stay on the bike longer, I should say. Because I think that a good report card for me is that if it feels like it's supposed to be doing what it's doing under me, it should feel easy. Not easy, but easier, so that I can make it through a 20-minute session. And I used to be tapping out at like 5 laps, like I'm exhausted, my legs are shaking, can't do it. And that's always a good indicator to me of, hey, you're probably trying too hard. Maybe you should relax a little. You're probably not doing this right.
Yeah, make sure you're breathing out there. And it's not sustainable to ride with a white knuckle grip. You just can't do it for an extended period of time. So there's a way to ride without, white knuckling it the whole time, and that's to drop your elbow. I like to point my elbow towards the ground and use the screwdriver grip, because if you're doing it that way, your wrist is in a good position. You're not going to get arm pump, because if it was kinked sideways, everybody's wrist is going to go numb. So you have to kind of hold it with that screwdriver position, or ice cream cone, as some people like to call it. And if you're pointing your elbow towards the ground, you can't really put a lot of weight in your hands, right? It's in a position that you can't just hold on very hard in this position. So you're using a lot of your core, a lot of your legs. And just like playing an instrument, learning a new sport, there's going to be some level of physical strength you need to have just to be able to do your sport effectively. Like I've been teaching this MSF course for beginner riders getting their licenses, and they're all complaining to me, like, my wrist is getting sore, my hand's sore, using the clutch so much. They're not used to this, your forearm being worked so much. So one of the guys said, do I really have to keep putting it in neutral? Like, this is a workout. I can't do this anymore. Can I take a break? Like, it's supposed to feel sore. Like, if you haven't snowboarded in 7 years, you go snowboarding, you're gonna feel sore the next day. That's normal. You got to work those muscles. Eat some protein when you go home.
Yep, 100%. To be fair, some of those MSF bikes have some really sticky clutches.
They do. They are not always the easiest, and sometimes I think it'd be a lot easier for these students to ride on perfect bikes. But we don't have a choice. We only have a certain budget for these motorcycles, and I just like to say, if you can ride this, you can ride anything.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's accurate. I'm curious, here in Michigan, are you guys teaching in the MSF course, because my MSF course, from what I hear from other people that did it here, I did it on Oahu, and they didn't teach me how to downshift. They didn't teach me what engine braking was. I was
Oh,
literally for like an entire year, year and a half on my big ass Suzuki Boulevard, just like pulling in the clutch from like 50 miles an hour in fifth gear, pulling in the clutch and just braking. And then once I got to a complete stop, shift down to first for like a year because I didn't know any better.
yeah, you know what? That's kind of a good point. We do not, that I know of, have a specific engine braking drill. Because a lot of the times we are teaching it's the basics. It's level 1. So you got to teach them how to just ride the motorcycle without falling down before we can teach more advanced concepts. So it is a bit of a stepping stone process. I will be getting trained to teach the advanced rider course in a couple weeks here. That's why I'm not going to be able to do the Friday, Saturday. I can only do the Sunday at Graton. So yeah, there's a whole lot of holes that I see. Like I would want to teach them some more things, but we only have them for like 4 hours on Saturday, 4 hours on Sunday, and that's it. So we're teaching them the basics of clutch control, getting to the friction zone, and that takes up like half the day, you know. And then we're teaching them the swerve, a quick stop, getting them to brake harder on that front brake pressure and not skid that with that rear tire. So there's a lot of things that I wish we could add to the program, but we only have so much time, and we're legally responsible for only teaching them what's in the curriculum. So if we try to teach them different concepts and they fall down, we are, as coaches, are liable for that. So it's like, when I was first starting, I was trying to ad lib and add more stuff that I wanted to teach them. And as I was getting trained, the coach said, just read the cards. We have these cards in front of us that explain the entire drill and different tips and things about it. And I was like going off on different tangents. He's like, just read the cards, read the freaking cards. Like, okay, I get it now. But yeah, this is, so what I always tell the students is you are now parking lot certified. We have not gotten out of second gear the whole time. This does not mean you should go on the freeway and go 85 miles an hour in traffic. Like, come back, take another course, take the advanced rider course. Everybody is they're always so anxious about the test. Am I going to pass? Am I going to fail? That's all they're worried about. They're not always focused on learning this concept perfectly. They're like, I just want to pass the test. You know, what do I need to pass the test? So if they come back and they've already had their endorsement, a lot of that pressure's off and they can really start focusing on their riding skills.
Yeah, I really wish that maybe either the original MSF course should be lengthened so that you can teach those more advanced concepts, or that it's required that they take a more advanced MSF course. Because like I said, I was riding without knowing how to engine brake or knowing how to rev match or knowing how to anything, which, like, correct, you can ride a motorcycle without knowing those things, but like just for the longevity of the bike and like overall just understanding of the machine that's between your legs, you probably should know that. I could have saved myself quite a few crashes if I had a better understanding at the beginning of like just how this machine operates and how it's supposed to operate.
Yeah, that's a good point. I love the feedback. That's a great point because there's definitely some holes that I see, but I've found in their teachings in the state of Michigan, it depends on the year, but the how do you say it? 30 to 50% of the fatalities of riders in Michigan are unlicensed riders. So if they at least get licensed, and it's not even about the state requirement, it's about you learning how to ride the motorcycle. It's not about paying the fee. It's like, do you actually know how to ride it at a basic level? Can you do a swerve? Can you operate the brakes effectively? You know, to get out of that car, that Volvo that just stopped right in front of you, you know, all these different situations that you're not expecting. If you're staring down at your hand controls the whole time because you don't know how to use the clutch, the car just broke in front of you, you're going to probably end up in the back of that car. You know, so keeping your head up, looking where you're going, turning your head for blind corners. If there's a big tree there, you can't see the end of it, you better be turning your head, not looking 2 feet in front of you, in front of your tire, you know. So it's good for at least the basic level of riding. Like you can ride around a parking lot and things like that, but it is not like high level, high speed environment training at all.
Yeah, I like that, parking lot certified.
Yeah.
I had quite a few guys in my MSF course that had been out riding on, because the law is different here, I think in Michigan. In Michigan, if you have your endorsement, you can ride with another licensed rider. Is that right?
Yeah.
In Hawaii, as long as you have your endorsement, you can ride. So like we had people coming to the MSF course because you couldn't take the MSF course without having your endorsement already.
Okay.
So they would come with their endorsement on their own motorcycles, and they would be allowed to like ride and practice on their own motorcycles that they rode to the MSF course with, and they've been riding for years on this endorsement or whatever, and just wanted the actual license finally, and they came in with like really big heads and like, I know what I'm doing, and then dump their shit at the first U-turn.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, it's easier to teach someone who knows nothing than someone who's been riding for 10 years and thinks they know everything. Because they've gained all these bad habits and they think they know what they're doing. And at first you're like, okay, this guy probably knows how to ride. And then you get to the U-turn box, like, he can operate a clutch, but he doesn't know how to ride.
I'm still in it. It's different levels because like you said, you can't throw everything at beginners all at once. So like now in intermediate, I'm still like unlearning bad habits that were taught to me in novice to keep me safe, to keep me from crashing. But like if I want to progress, I now have to like edit that out of my brain and learn new information. It's by far the most like evolution of a sport that I've ever had to do.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I will say 100 times, the things you learn at level 1 MSF course do not apply when you're an expert racer. Like they're totally different. So you just have to take it with a grain of salt and learn and be able to learn and adapt and evolve with your riding style. Because we do teach you different things. Like you shouldn't be trailer braking too much in novice because you're probably going to tuck the front. You're not going to be smooth with your controls. You're going to be all grabby, stabby at full lean. And, oh, I don't know why I crashed. Well, that's because you grabbed the front brake when you're leaned over, you know? So we teach, use minimal brakes. We coast around the corners. You know, we're not even using the brakes half the time, but we're focusing on everything else so that when we get faster, we can start putting those puzzle pieces together and form it into one lap.
I'm going to make a petition to have the first 7 videos of Ken Hill's fundamentals as a part of the MSF curriculum.
That'd be great. You know, like we always say, this is not your end of your learning. This is level 1 out of like level 1,000 or more. So just keep learning. If you want to get better at the sport, you always got to keep learning. And, you know, some advice from some coaches, I'm sure, is not always the best. I'm sure, you know, some information that they give is great and it might apply to you at different times. So, you know, just learn and try to be a sponge.
Yeah, and that's the other great thing about STT too, is that you have so many different coaches available to you, especially in novice, that, you know, if something that one guy says to you just doesn't make sense, you can go to someone else and be like, this is my problem. I asked for help here, but it didn't really make sense. Can I try to get a tow from you? Like there's a lot of people there and everyone's willing to help.
Yeah. It's a great, and we're all volunteering too. It's all a volunteer gig. So it's not like we're making tons of money off of coaching. It's just, we love doing it and helping other riders get better.
Yeah, that's one day I would love to. I need to get a lot better myself first.
Maybe in 10 years you could do it. You know, there's a coach level for every rider too. There's a woman, Red Spade, who I've podcasted with, and she's a huge social media person. She's Anna Rigby. You know, she's always out there promoting the sport of riding. And I'm pretty sure she's a coach too, but she's like coaching other riders of a different level. So there's all sorts of levels of coaches. They don't always have to be professional riders, but it's just somebody who's maybe a couple years ahead of you who can give you that real world feedback.
Yeah, it's always nice to have someone that's also like not so far ahead of you for your skill level to give you advice to, because they're a little bit closer in distance, so they can kind of remember a little bit better where it was, what it felt like to be like where you are, and have a little bit more to say that way.
Sure, it's maybe more relatable to you.
Yeah, 100%.
So I know something else that you really wanted to talk about, and I do as well, is human rights and what's been going on in our system lately with the regards to abortion and pro-choice and pro-life and all that. And I'll just say right out, I am atheist. I am not Christian. I don't have any religion. I think that there's maybe something that we don't quite understand that I can't put words to, but I don't believe in the typical, the preachings, that stuff's been written down and been changed thousands of times throughout history. I don't think that's divine. I think there's a lot of Christianity or religious views in the political system now, and I thought it was supposed to be a separation of church and state. So like, I don't care what your religion is, you have your own beliefs, that's fine, but keep it out of my rights is my idea.
Yeah, I'm 100% on the same page. I have friends in several different countries across the world that are kind of looking at America right now like, why the hell are laws being made around certain people's religions? That's not what anybody signed up for. And especially like laws being made by generally individuals over the age of 60, which already you're looking at a lot of mental decline. I'm really big into neuroscience. I'm really big into how you're taking care of yourself. There's a lot of evidence that a lot of people up into the upper range that were alive 60, 70 years ago have a lot of lead poisoning. There's a lot of new evidence coming out to support that.
Brain damage, so basically.
Yeah, and then they're all men. 80% or something stupid like that of our state heads are men. And a lot of them are white. And I think that it's a huge issue. And I think that we're just going to continue to see this backsliding. There was already a case. There's already been so many cases. I have to separate myself a little bit of keeping track of everything. Otherwise I will go ballistic. I'm just trying to do everything that I possibly can from my scope without driving myself absolutely insane over things that I can't control. So what I can control is reaching out to my local riding community, KZURC. We're north or southwest Michigan, basically. So I just recently did a pro-choice fundraiser. We raised about $300 that got donated. Planning on doing another one. We're going to be making merch. Like, I think that speaking with our money is going to be, because it's capitalist America, right? So I think that the dollars and where we spend our money is going to have the biggest impact on anything changing. But there's also a part of me that just wants to flee this country.
Yeah, well, you got to always vote with your wallet, whether it's a restaurant you like or different political views. Put your money where your mouth is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. And it's just really heartbreaking to see other women that I'm privileged enough that I'm in a space where I have access to birth control and I have access to healthcare for now. So it doesn't affect me, but there are millions of women who don't have that access, who've never had that access. And what are they supposed to do? They're just fucked. Like, yeah. It's disgusting. And it's very, I don't know. I was out there protesting, just me standing on top of my big ass V-Star out downtown Michigan. And there were people walking by. This one dude stopped and tried to start an argument with me. And I'm just like, why does this affect you? If you don't have a vagina, I don't know why you care. I don't know why you care, my guy. Like, this does not affect you at all.
Yeah.
But at the end of that, a girl came up to me in tears, thanking me for being out there for protesting. And if I made her feel slightly less alone in any way possible, then that's worth it. That's all the initiative that I'm trying to accomplish. And that's enough. So,
yeah. And it's like, for me, I remember having debates or discussions in the classroom in high school, like in like English class, like debate about this, right? Your stance, pro or against, and why, and explain your viewpoint. And you have to be able to argue both sides, right? To have an intelligent conversation about the thing. And I thought this problem had been solved decades ago. Like, why are we bringing this back up now? Like, people should have the right to choose what they want to do with their bodies. And I don't have a vagina, but I think women should have the right to choose. And if someone doesn't want to have a child, they should not have that child, because we've seen all the bad things that happen when dads leave or moms leave out of a family. That kid has a really rough time. Maybe both parents don't want the child, and then it's going to be in adoption centers and foster care, and that's not a good situation either. So it's like these people maybe come from poor households who cannot afford a child, and you're forcing them to have a child. They're going to try to have an abortion anyways, and do it through bad means, whether it's, coat hangers or whatever, going to other states or traveling to other countries to get these things done. It's not going to go away. It's just going to be done behind medical door, like outside of medical doors and outside of the safety of medicine and doctors.
Yep. And then you have a dead fetus and a dead young woman. So really you have accomplished nothing. And like what you said, it's never going to affect people with means, people that are rich. This doesn't affect them at all. They're going to get on their jets, they're going to get in their fancy cars and go to another country with some actual sense where they can get the healthcare. Because really there is no other country. I think fucking Afghanistan even has legalized. Yeah. So it's disgusting at this point. And if we flip it on its head, if we were trying to make these laws about men, this would not be happening. This would not be happening. There would not be a law. It makes so much more sense to require men to get vasectomies or something that are easily reversible at the age of puberty. But like, that's not even on the table. Nobody is even offering that because we live in a patriarchy. So it makes a lot of sense that we're again back to putting women in bulletproof vests and just shooting them up instead of actually dealing with the problem.
Yeah.
And like, I come from a household where I was not wanted. I've experienced homelessness in my youth. I would have loved to not have had that experience if my biological parents have had access to the things that they needed. Luckily, I have great foster parents that stepped up and do the job, but I, again, am so fucking lucky and privileged to be in the situation that I'm in now. And there's so many other people that just luck of the draw didn't get lucky. Like absolutely nothing to do with me personally and my values and who I am and me being better than anybody else has anything to do. It was literally just a poker draw, like luck. And that's icky to me all the way around.
There's so many people who get who slip through the cracks and don't get that foster care that they need.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that the same thing goes for like, I'm lucky that I'm able to walk away from my injury having healthcare too, because I've seen the healthcare bills over $50,000 for a couple nights in the hospital and a few CTs. Really? Because they haven't done surgery, they haven't done anything yet. It's been a year of it, like, that's insane. And like, what would happen if I didn't have health insurance?
You'd be bankrupt.
Screwed. I'd be literally bankrupt, absolutely screwed. And they say that that's why Gen Z it's record lows for mental health. And they're saying that a really big link to that is that they're also have skyrocket credit card debt way more than any other generation at their age. And the interest rates are also way worse. And we're about to tiptoe into a recession. So good luck, Gen Z. I'm a cusper technically, but I don't necessarily think of myself as Gen Z.
So what is the cutoff for Gen Z? I'm not sure what the age groupings are anymore.
So I'm 97, and I think I'm like right there on the end of millennial. It's like right there, 96, 97. So they're calling us cuspers, but I'm more of a millennial than I am a Gen Z. But like right there. So you're 1999, 2000 babies onward,
Okay.
that are now 22-year-old adults that are trying to make it in this economy when gas was like $5 a gallon a few months ago, and groceries keep going up. And I spent $20 on a bottle of kimchi and 2 cucumbers earlier at the grocery store.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, I went to the restaurant the other day, got some Thai food, and it said every item on the menu is at least $1 more.
Yep.
Didn't even change the menu, just put another $1 on everything.
Mm-hmm. And it's only going to get worse until we can figure out where to go from here. I get it, COVID, nobody saw it coming, but also there's going to be more pandemics as shit keeps melting and coming down. I know we have that monkeypox thing going around right now.
So I heard on some, I don't know if it was the news or social media, But apparently it's like 95% gay men are getting monkeypox.
Yeah, I think that the media is really homophobic and like loves to spread stuff like that, but there's nothing inherent about monkeypox. Like it's the same thing with like coronavirus. It's not inherent to Chinese people. It just started in China. So like the fact that it started in the gay community doesn't really have anything to do with how it's spread. It's not spread by giving a blowjob. It's spread by touching something. That's
Okay.
it.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just spewing false information, I guess.
No, I mean, it's fine. Nobody knows, I don't think anymore, especially with all the false narratives out there. I just don't enjoy any sort of narratives that are like, oh, it's those people's fault. Generally, when there's any generalizations, as I just did a generalization, involved, I don't like it.
Sure. Yeah, I was saying the other day, I got some bad advice on directions from an Asian woman. I was like, why did I ask an Asian woman for directions? I was like, well, that's probably a generalization, but it's kind of like it comes from a reason, right? Because many times something has happened and you've maybe had bad directions from a woman or an Asian person. So that's huge generalizations. But in that one instance, it was true. Right?
Yeah, and there's nothing saying that generalizations can't ever be true. It's just the fact that when you apply it to everyone in that category, I run into that a lot, both in the street riding community and at the tracks. I'm a woman. I have boobs, so that means I can't operate a motorcycle as good as all the dick swingers around me. So, and a lot of my fellow female riders also feel the same way, that there's like a constant kind of buzzing in the background of like, you're not really as good as the rest of us. And I'll throw out the obligatory, not all men. It's not all men. Nobody can torch me now. But it is still present in a really big way, especially at the racetrack, unfortunately, just because that is more of a sport where you have to perform. It's a performance sport. We're all there to get better. Where street riding, people are kind of putzing about, whatever. I don't deal with it nearly as much. Street riding, especially because, not to toot my own horn, but I'm probably better than your average street rider at this point, having been to the track, having made intermediate, knowing what I know about motorcycles, doing all the work that I have. Your average street rider doesn't put in that much effort. So I feel like I'm more on a different level. But yeah, it's ever present, and hopefully if enough women speak up about it, and honestly, we just need to get more women at track. I've recruited 1, 2, 3 separate women to join, and then 2 more of my other friends decided to join all this season, that are all women getting out on the track, doing the thing. I don't care, bring your cruiser, just come out here and show face. And you know, I've heard it from coaches time and time again that women tend to learn slightly slower than the men, and they tend to crash a hell of a lot less, and they tend to retain information a hell of a lot better.
They're better listeners.
Yeah, I think a lot of the time. And it's because the ego isn't there for a lot of women. I mean, Kit, she's amazing. I'm not sure. Have you met her?
Kit, maybe. I thought I saw her the other day, or at the track. Did she come?
Yeah, she's got like really long, brown, super curly hair like mine.
Yeah.
And I don't think she's a coach. She's an advanced rider, and she's staff. If I'm wrong, she'll kill me. So hopefully I'm not wrong. But she organized the STT All Girls Day, and that was one of the most fantastic experiences I'd ever had. It was actually at Autobahn. And everything just went so smoothly. There were multiple crashes because it got rained out, like literally pouring rain. And everybody was still there to help each other out. Just the vibes were immaculate. And I would love it if I could take that entire group of women and take them to every track day with me.
Yeah, the band of women on the track. It's awesome to see. I've been beat by a woman, Ann Roberts, at the Road Atlanta many years ago at the Wera Nationals Cycle Jam. And I thought it was awesome. I'm like, that's great. You know, I would love to be in front of any competitor, man or woman, but
Mhm.
I want to see more women out there. I'm not ashamed to say that got beat by a woman. I think it's great. More women should be out there, and it's not a sport that is determined by how strong you are.
Mhm.
Yes, you should have a basic level of fitness. You should be working out all the time, really, to be a motorcycle rider, man or woman. But my point is, you don't need to be a bodybuilder. You don't need to have extreme brute strength. You see the guys who are excelling, like Danny Pedrosas of the world, who are like 5'2", 5'3", Jason DeSalvo, 5'3", 130 pounds. That means if a woman is the same dimensions, she can compete at a good level. I think riding is like 90% mental. So if you can overcome those roadblocks and you can put your body in the right position and like hold it there for a little while, it's really a lot about your mind and how it's working. So get all the women out to the track. I'm looking for a girlfriend, someone who rides, hopefully. So no, I'm always looking for someone who's fit, someone who can, not necessarily keep up at my pace, but at least keep up, come onto the track, maybe go for a mountain bike ride, something like that. Someone who's in the active lifestyle.
Yeah, it's one of the most amazing experiences ever to be able to be in this sport actively with my partner. We started both in novice together. He progressed faster than me, obviously. Broken arms tend to do that. But it's really cool to actively have someone to go to track with, to break down the track days afterwards, to work with each other, to see progress happening, to trailer with. Like, it's just a fantastic experience, and I think that more couples should do it together. Honestly, I see a lot of wives. I talk to a lot of wives and girlfriends that are like, yeah, it's super cool. It looks super interesting, but I don't know. I would love to, but I don't think I can. And I'm like, yes, you fucking can.
Yeah. And back to what you said about your skill level, I would say if you've been on the track, even as a novice for one day, you're better than 99% of the riders on the street.
Yeah, Kenny has says similar things of the riding population is like, in general, is 1% of the population, and track riders are 1% of that population. Racers are another 1% of that population. I would say that I'm 1% of the 1% of the 1%, because I think 1% of track riders are women. At least it feels that way a lot of the time.
Very small amount. Yeah, for sure. It's there's a handful, but there's a handful at each event, which is cool. Now you're seeing more and more women get into it.
Yeah, I am seeing a lot more, and especially like women like my girlfriend Paige. She goes completely by herself. She has her own big ass truck and her own trailer, and she knows how to drive the damn thing, and she knows how to ride a bike really well. She's lined up for her intermediate bump coming up here, and she's just fantastic. And it's women like that that are like, I can do the damn thing by myself.
Yeah, it's inspiring. I don't need your help. I can set up my canopy. I can unload it myself. I can load it back. I can even change a sprocket, whatever.
Yeah, that's the type of, I think that every woman is capable of that, but it's again like a mindset thing of years and years and years of socialization of like, oh, I couldn't do that. Yes, you can.
Well, it's difficult to like people always ask me, how'd you even get started? Because it's like it's such a mystery. Like, how do you even go to the track? Where is the track? What do I need for the track? Can I ride my bike to the track? Do I need a trailer? Do I need a truck? Like, it's such a mystery for people. So I'm trying to help dispel that and make it easy for people to find this information. I did just make a like a guest, what did I call it? Like a directory for new motorcycle riders or any rider. Like, these are the brake pads that I use. These are the brake pads that I sell. These are the brake pads I recommend. These are the brake pads I've sponsored by, so who have sponsored me. There's tons of different brands out there. Like, it's not one specific brand that's your best one or that I recommend. I've used multiple brands, and so it's not like I'm just trying to sell you something. Like, I'm trying to give you that information to help you make your best decision based on your skill level, based on what you need. Here's a whole bunch of different track organizations. Here's some racing organizations. Here's where I bought my trailer. I went to Harbor Freight and just built it myself. Stick a piece of wood on there, mount a couple ramps to the side, mount a gas can, mount a box in the front tongue box, and that's my toolbox now. You can just pick up your toolbox, put it right in there, close the lid, good to go. I'm a huge proponent of the pit bull trailer restraint because you don't need any tie downs. Just mount the base to your open trailer And I do have a front chalk for the front tire, so that I can kind of put it in and mess with the rear. But you really don't even need the front chalk. You could just do it with the rear pit bull restraint. No tie downs. I can load it in like 12 seconds. Some of my riders that I was helping were asking if I needed help loading my bikes. I was like, sure, watch this. I loaded it in 12 seconds. They're like, oh, I guess he doesn't need any help.
Yep, that's what we run as well. And they're super great too, especially if you like wreck your bike, because then you can just take it home in one piece. It just goes right through the axle. So there you go.
Yep. Unless you've separated the front from the rear of the motorcycle, then it's in 2 pieces.
Yeah, we try not to do that. Aim for low sides. If you're going to crash, please low side. Although I have seen some nasty low sides for some reason this year. I keep telling people, take their freaking frame sliders off. It's
because when it catches, it'll flip.
Yeah, and I've seen that happen way too many times. I'm like, it'll slide great on the pavement, but you got to worry about when it gets to the grass or the gravel, dude. But I mean, that's another great thing about the motorcycle community. We're helping our buddy build his bike that went down at Gingerman. So it happened to have a bunch of spare R6 parts, because R6 parts are aplenty.
Yeah.
And you know, he's going to be able to get up and run for Graton at the end of this month, which I don't know of any other sport where there's this much community. And that's like a really big part of why I love it so much and why there are so many awesome people. And to piggyback off what you were saying, I didn't know shit about track either. Billy Ball had been yelling at our entire KZRC motorcycle group to get to the track for years. And finally, I think we just listened to him and decided to give it a try. But I watched one of the Revzilla videos of like how to do track. And it seemed very straightforward until you actually do it and you get there and you realize that there's a lot of shit that they didn't cover in the 5-minute video.
So the easiest way to get to the track is if you don't even have a bike, I would recommend just go to your local track day without even planning on riding first. Just go to your local track. It might be $15-20 to get in for a gate fee. There's no will call. You don't buy a ticket at your local track unless it's a professional event. But if it's a WERA event, a CCS, ASRA, ARMA, track day, STT, or N2 track days, any of those organizations, it's pretty much a gate fee. You get in, and there's no VIP section. It's all open. You can go around and talk to each individual person you want. I would just say don't talk to them 4 minutes before they're trying to get on the racetrack. You know, if they're ready to go out for a hot session, come back when they're, you know, got their helmet off, ready to talk and got some water. But yeah, you can go around, pick their brain, see what bikes they're running, see what kind of tire warmers they have, see their setups or canopies. You don't even need any of that stuff. You know, you can go to the tracks, and most tracks have garages that you can rent for 60, 80, $100, depending on the track. And you have power hookup for warmers, a fan, maybe electronics charging, whatever you have. And you got free shade with the garage, which is nice. You don't have to bring a canopy or a generator in that instance. So yeah, just come to a track, check it out, see what it's about, and you'll make friends. You know, a lot of people are just hanging out. Maybe at certain events, it's like my parents ask me, who did you know at this event? I'm like, I knew like 14 people there. And like 3 people knew me and I didn't know them. You know, that's pretty cool. Just like when we met, you knew me, I didn't know you before, but now we're pretty much friends. Now we're having this podcast. So it's cool. I just met a couple new people and make some new friends. So every time I go, I just walk from like canopy to canopy, introduce myself, say, how you doing? You know, this is what I'm doing here. And if you need anything, come by my pits. Sometimes I have spare parts. You know, I hang my EricSwahnRacing banners so people know that I'm a business and I sell parts and things. But I don't really have parts to sell at the track. Everything, you know, ships from warehouses around the country. Mm-hmm. I don't have a huge inventory on hand with me. So, but one guy said, oh, my grips are feeling really bad. Do you have any grips for sale? I'm like, actually, I do have a whole bunch of spare parts. So let me look in my toolbox, you know, and I sold him some grips that were just my personal spare parts. So I'm like, well, I hope I don't crash and need those grips later.
Yeah, it's awesome, and 100% just go to the track. My buddy came to watch just to spectate at Gingerman, but he happened to ride his bike, his R6 to the track. And after it went cold, he was just kind of hanging out with us. And one of the coordinators came up and was like, this is your bike? How come you're not riding track? one thing led to the next, and we ended up getting him out on track the next day with a borrowed suit from that guy, borrowed gauntlets. I think he rode his helmet, got him out there on sketchy street tires, but they were good enough to pass tech. Swapped some coolant in, I think, for engine ice, and got him out there the next day just because he was there hanging out with us. And everybody at the track wants to see everybody on a motorcycle on the track.
Right. It doesn't matter how old you are. I think you can maybe start at sometimes 12 to 14 years old, and you can go
11 at STT.
11, is it?
It's insane.
I mean, they're children out there. They're not even teenagers, but I've rode with young kids, and before they have a driver's license, they can still be very predictable and safe. And I'm like, this kid should probably have a driver's license by now. He's an expert level racer at like teenager level. Before 16, it's like, why we have the 16-year-old age group? But it's like, these kids, if you learn at the track, you learn it's very serious. It's not a joke. You can get injured, killed, maimed, lose limbs, and die. Mm-hmm. But if you do it in a safe way, it's repeatable. It's not like we're out there risking our lives every corner. I mean, we all understand the risks, but there's a safe way to do it, and there's an unsafe way to do it. And we teach you those things. And one of the most dangerous part about a racetrack is always the entrance and the exit from pit lane. So as long as you are safe with your track out and pitting in, most of the rest of it is way safer. Just those two zones. Imagine you have someone coming from 0 miles an hour entering the track, typically on a straightaway, where you're passing them at 120, 130 miles an hour. So those speed differences is where we have the biggest problems. But
that's why we have blend lines.
That's why we have blend lines. And Graton is very unique. We don't use a straightaway most of the time for entering and exiting. That's only for like race weekends when everybody knows what's going on. Nobody's violating those blend line rules. We all understand the severity of those incidents. So at Graton, we enter between turn 4 and 5, and we exit at turn 3, which is unique. I don't know another track like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've only obviously ridden the 3, but it's interesting for sure. It's hard for me to remember pit out. Obviously the rules are, if you don't have your hand up by a certain time, you're going around again. There's several times when I first go out the first session, I'm trying to pit or whatever, and I forget to have my hand up by a certain corner because I'm coming into one so hot, and I'm like, oh, I really got one. And then I see 2 coming up, and I was like, oh shit, I was supposed to have my hand up. I wanted to go out. And then I'm like, well, I guess we're doing another lap, and then I'll do the exact same thing the next time.
Yeah.
But it's good that they nail those rules into your head as well as they do with STT. I think that works amazingly. And like I see these kids out there. The last Ware race weekend that we did at Graton, this freaking 12-year-old kid was on a Kramer. I'd never even heard of it. It's a freaking single cylinder 690.
Okay.
Holy fuck, dude. This kid won his race, like against like 6 other racers, like just absolutely hauling, and like super humble, came up, got his trophy, like brought his little sister up. Like it was the coolest thing ever. And I kept having to stop myself from going up to their dads and being like, I wish I had a dad to do that for me when I was that young.
Like, will you adopt me?
Yeah. It's so cool to see like the sport. That's why I know like Ken Hill rattles on a lot about it, about how he thinks the sport is dying, which I think there are aspects to the sport that we definitely need to pay attention to. But I see stuff like that and I'm like, oh dude, this is never gonna die. Like everybody is so supportive and so appreciative, and like everybody's just there to help each other out. And everybody wants to see everybody else succeed, at least from what I've encountered. I haven't encountered a bad apple yet. And yeah, it's just the community is unlike any other sport that you're gonna have out there.
Well, I think it's because we respect each other so much. We have this massive common interest, and as a racer, even if my competitor crashed, I've lent parts and given parts to people for the weekend. Like, hey, you need a steering damper? I got a spare. And they might be in my same class, in my same expert level. I want them to be out there, and I want to try to beat them on track rather than beat them because they couldn't get out of pit lane. So unlike soccer, where I'm going to try to beat my teammate. I mean, you're always trying to, be your best, but in soccer, everybody's competing against themselves and you don't really care about your teammates as much. Sometimes, I played soccer for like a dozen years and you're always trying to be the best guy out there. So your coach puts you in that ideal position, right? And that's the same can be true about motorcycle racing, but it's just such a higher level of respect because there's more danger involved, I think.
Yeah, and it's crazy how much it teaches you your limits, especially being in I now, and I'm still a little I baby. But I remember when I first got out there, my very first session, very first lap in I is at Gingerman. We hauled out of there. I was going a little slow because it's the first lap. I'm running Q3 plus. I wasn't running warmers at all at that point. So I always take a warm up lap. And I guess the dude behind me maybe knew I was newer or something and came hauling around me between 2 and 3 and just absolutely grabbed the brakes into 3, trying to beat me on the brakes and low sided right in front of me. And I was like, okay, great introduction. There we go. Awesome. And like that immediately teaches me like there's so many times where you just have to execute patience. Like, yeah, you want to go fast and you want to pass, but like also don't do that. And also the trust in the other rider. Like I've had in intermediate, it's still 6 feet inside, outside, whatever, but it's 6 feet. And I've had wheels coming up on the outside of me, the sweeper or whatever, and I'm like seeing a wheel and I'm like, oh God, here we go. They're like 3 feet away from me, 2 feet away from me. I'm like, oh shit, look where you want to go. And then I see the orange vest and I see it's a coach, and then immediately relief. Like I trust them to handle their shit. I trust that they've watched me to know my line, to know where I'm gonna go. All I need to do is ride my ride. They'll get by me, absolutely no issues. It doesn't even give me any anxiety anymore. Whereas at first it used to give me heart palpitations.
So tell me about what it's like when a rider crashes in front of you. Are you panicking? Are you taking your same line? Are you target fixating at that rider? Like, how do you get through that situation when the guy's 4, 5, 6 feet in front of you and he just tuck the front?
I definitely, I have a lot of work behind not target fixating from, I when I first started riding on the street, would target fixate a lot. So I put in a lot of effort to never do that again. So the second I saw him hit the ground, I immediately tore my eyes away from him and looked through my turn and kept to my line as much as possible. Luckily, it was a low side and he slid out away from me. It was like before he even turned into 3. So he basically just like slid here this way, I'm going that way. And I never saw him again. And we got red flag first lap out.
So that's what I think a lot of people don't understand is when 9 times out of 10, when the rider crashes, they're going to go to the outside. Mm-hmm. And if you were never going to go in that line anyway, they're irrelevant to you. It doesn't matter anymore. They're going to go to the outside. You take your normal line, not changing anything. And chances are you're not going to even come close to hitting them. Even if they were right in front of you, chances are you're not going to touch them because they're just going to keep sliding to the outside. You stay on your line and everything's peachy keen. Now, sometimes like in the whole Marco Simoncelli crash, I don't know if you're familiar with that, yeah. But he was trying to save the crash. That's a super advanced level technique to try to, you tuck the front, now he's going to save it. In that instance, he did go to the inside of the corner and that's when he was struck by a motorcycle. But that's a MotoGP level rider. Right. And that's extremely unlikely to happen in a novice session, right? So, yeah. So chances are, and I could not tell you how many riders have crashed 2 feet, 6 inches in front of my front tire. And I didn't change my line. I just kind of, like you said, look through the corner, but have your peripherals kind of like monitoring this guy over here as he fades away into the distance, and just keep on your line. Maybe don't accelerate hard into him, maybe maintain for a moment, let the bike fade away and continue on with what you're doing.
Yeah, I think too, it's a big, so now I have that, but coming from street riding for so long, I have had people go down in front of me, behind me in group rides on the street. And the instance there is, oh, fuck, I need to stop immediately and go help this person. I've had people go down on group rides. I've been a blocker for many group rides. I've been the one with the medic kits, that kind of stuff. And so my immediate impulse that I had to like edit out is like, oh shit, somebody went down, go help them. Like to the point where like my 3rd session in novice, some dude was coming around wide, I think, and almost, it looked like he almost high-sided. He like lost the rear and then it gripped again and kind of like jostled him. I saw it out of my peripheral and it freaked me out so much coming in the back straight. I immediately pitted. I immediately went to go find the dude. I was like, oh my God, I saw that. Are you okay? And he was like, yes, what do you want? I didn't crash. Why are you here? That was my immediate reaction, is like, are you okay? The mama bird in me.
Sure. And we got corner marshals out there, track marshals, to help the riders if they fall down. So never stop on the racetrack, even if you have a mechanical issue. We had someone yesterday, unfortunately, stop on the main straightaway because he had a mechanical. Get off of the racetrack, get into the grass. They're going 100 miles an hour by you. You do not want to be stopped on the main straightaway ever, or anywhere on the track. Get off into the grass, into the weeds. If you fall, get to the guardrail. Don't worry about your motorcycle. You're in an impact zone. People sometimes target fixate and will aim, missile right at you. So get away from the bike. Don't worry about it. It's just a machine, right? It's not your baby anymore. It's just a replaceable part.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. I have not, knock on wood, gone down on oh, stop. I set my belt off. I have not gone down on the racetrack yet, but I'm sure it'll happen one day. And I definitely hope that I don't freeze in the moment, because I've seen some of, like, my girlfriend Paige, she went down and she immediately, just a low side, she rolled, immediately stood up, started sprinting off track, uphill, waving her arms that she was okay. And I was like, well, that's exactly what you're supposed to do. I don't know if I'd remember to do that though.
Yeah. A lot of the times, like, I remember I crashed once at Gingerman. I think that might have been my first racetrack crash. Coming down the hill before you go up the back straightaway. I went in way too hot. And I was like, yep, I'm not gonna make the corner. I'll just stand the bike up. I was fine. And then I realized I'm going way too fast now. And the runoff area was kind of up and down and all around. It wasn't flat at all. It was like divoted and it's still going downhill. So I feel like I'm picking up speed, and I end up losing the rear in the grass, going too fast. So trying to use the rear brake and locked up. And I went tumbling, and I guess the corner worker was like, oh, that didn't look like a good one. And he's like, are you okay? Are you okay? I'm like, yep, just thumbs up. That's all I got to give him. But he's like, man, I didn't think you were going to get up from that one that quickly. And one thing that they even said in the novice classroom, I thought it was hilarious, but it's so true, especially in the rain. But if you crash, when you crash at the racetrack, wait a couple seconds and then try to get up, because you think you're stopped. You might still be moving at like 30 miles an hour. You try to get up, you're going to start tumbling again. I've done that because one time at Pittsburgh, I crashed in the rain, and you slide for what feels like several football fields, depending how fast you're going. And in the rain, you got a less friction coefficient. You can slide even farther, and it must have been a couple 100 yards. No joke. And I think I stopped, go to stand up, and I tumble all over again. So you feel like an idiot a little bit.
Yep. I'm a huge proponent of the airbag systems too. When my partner went down, it was in the back sweeper at Graton. Vicious. I had no idea about those bumps back there and that they would load and unload your suspension. I don't think I was going fast enough to even feel them. I'm probably still not at that pace where they're going to affect my suspension, but they are there. I walked the track and saw them, but it was one of those that I think he just was on the gas a little bit too hard. When the suspension unloaded, it gripped him and sent him off the bike. Thank God he got separated from the bike and that airbag was on. He must have been going 90, 100 miles an hour through that back sweeper, and a bruise on his bicep. That's it. The bike, however, ghost rode 60 yards into the guardrail. That's where the total comes in. But it lines up with what they all say, that the bike doesn't like us on it. It doesn't like our input. it'll go for forever without us.
It's usually the nut behind the handlebars that's screwing everything up.
Yep, usually.
For sure. So anything on your mind you wanted to talk about today?
I think I talked about everything that I wanted to talk about. Anything else that you wanted to cover?
Oh, I mean, so I'm just waiting on my final say-so for this California Superbike school. See if I got the job. That'll be a game changer for me. That'll be think they do 11 tracks throughout the country. It'll be 90 days of on-track riding and coaching. See if I can name all the different tracks, but they go out to the Ridge in Washington. They go to a couple different tracks in California. I think they go to the streets of Willow Springs, which is a super famous track. They go to Las Vegas Speedway. They do COTA, Circuit of the Americas down in Texas. They'll be doing New Jersey. I think they're there today, New Jersey. They will be going, I did the Virginia International Raceway there. They do Pittsburgh. They were there a couple days ago. What else? Maybe NOLA, New Orleans. I think I already.
Do you guys all travel together, or because there's a bunch of coaches that go to all these different events, right?
Yeah, so I think they have they have two big semi trucks that transport all their BMW S1000 RRs, the 2022 beautiful bikes. They have the black version and the white. The whites are for the students. The black version I think the coaches use, but they're identical motorcycles. And I think a lot of them get rental cars or fly to different events. I'm not sure the whole structure yet. I'm still learning all the ins and outs of it, but I just drove down there. You can actually rent a BMW from them, so you don't even have to have your own motorcycle. They have leathers and helmets and all that too. So I didn't want to do my coaching evaluation on a brand new motorcycle I've never ridden before. Right. So that's really why I borrowed this Kawasaki ZX6R from my buddy in the first place, to get back up to speed at Graton and then to do the VAR evaluation. So I wanted to be on a similar machine that I'm used to, not add 80 horsepower and they'll go get evaluated for the first time on that bike. So I was really happy that I took that bike down there. But it would also be cool to ride those BMWs. I've never been on a 1000, so I'm sure it'll be a unique experience. And all that power, it's going to be hard to just keep the front wheel down, I think.
Yeah, I've never been on a 1000, and I don't think that I want to at this point, at least.
Yeah, I've always said to myself, man, I don't need to be on a 1000. I don't need to upgrade until I win a world championship. I mean, I'm not really fighting for a world championship right now, but that's the idea. It's like, I haven't mastered this one. Why would I move up to the next level?
Right. Yeah, and that's why sometimes it's so nice to get people actually started on 400s, because a lot of people move up from a 400 thinking that they've topped the bike out. Really, you've topped out your abilities as a rider. The bike has a lot more that it could give you. You're just not riding it to its full potential, which I 100% am not riding mine to its full potential at all. When I first got the thing, it had a lot more. It was actually dyno tuned, and it had the cat delete that my previous ZX6R did not. And so it actually had way more power. I was running it in low power mode, 80% for the first couple times I rode it, because I was like, this is a lot.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, I would even recommend, if it's a low grip environment or if it's raining or bad conditions, to run a gear taller everywhere. Just because it gives you less torque. The reason I moved up from novice to intermediate back in 2011 was because I was at Gingerman, and it was a torrential downpour. I mean, everything was soaked. Between sessions, we would just sit in our cars because there was we couldn't be outside anymore. And so it was just me as a complete fresh novice, my third track day maybe, and two other coaches. Nobody else was even wanting to ride.
Oh, I bet they loved you.
One coach crashed, and the other coach, that's how bad it was. One coach crashed, and the other coach stayed out there and was going putzing around with me. Now, I will not say I was going fast at all, but I was out there and I stayed on the bike, and that's all I was trying to accomplish. And and I did not have rain tires. I had DOTs on, and it was getting really nasty out there. But they bumped me up because they're like, if you can ride in this, you do not belong to be a novice anymore. So they bumped me up to intermediate for the next day, and that was the start of my confidence. But I realized I was making a mistake. I was shifting. I was a gear taller the whole time, and that's probably why I didn't crash, because I had less torque. I was less power. I was just kind of coasting around. I wasn't using too much brakes, but it made me like,
running?
Say that one more time.
What gear were you running?
What gear? I was probably third, fourth gear most of the time, or around Benjamin, maybe fifth on the straightaway. But I thought I was in second, third gear. I thought it was lower, so I was mistaken. I came back into the pits. I'm like, why can't I find neutral? Oh, I was a gear taller the whole time. That's when I found out. I came back into the pits and I couldn't find neutral. So I realized I was a gear taller, and that's beneficial for poor conditions.
Yeah, it's also just beneficial for taking one thing out of, like, I run Graton a lot of the time in like only second and sometimes third gear, because it just takes a lot of it out and it forces you to pay attention to, are you feeling your first 5%? Okay, roll, 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 until it's literally time to break. I had to eliminate recently a lot of dead time. I would roll off the throttle and there'd be like a solid couple seconds of dead time of coasting and decelling before I went to grab the brake. And now I'm trying to push it to like fully accelerating all the way until it's time to grab the brake. And are you grabbing the first 5%? Like that type of minutia that it takes a lot to think about while you're riding. Taking the gearing out has been helpful for me, at least.
Yeah, and even top level guys like Ben Spees, Elbows, Mr. Elbows, he would go around a track when he's learning a track for the first time and do a fourth gear drill. The top level guys do these drills when they go to a new track for a reason, because you want to set your corner speed. You want to get the good entry speed for the corners, find your turn-in points, find your apex, your pre-apex, your exits, before you start adding all these things. And when he would do it at pace, he was only 4 seconds off or so per lap without even using the brakes, but staying in fourth gear the whole time. So like it's possible to be really fast and just stay in one gear.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like Ken Hill always says, if there was a better way to do it, the pros would be doing it differently. So we do it this way.
Yeah. I always tell my students, like, just emulate the pros. Look at what the pros are doing. Put your body position in this position. That's what I was always trying to do. I was trying to look like Mark Marquez, One, it looks badass. For two, he's doing it for a specific reason. Like, I might not know all the ways or all the details or why he's doing something, but I can see that it works, and I'm going to try to copy that.
Yeah, for sure.
And you might not be able to drag your shoulder like a Jorge Martin character. Our bikes don't have the physical capabilities of doing that. Their front forks are more than our houses cost. Their bikes are $2 million. We might not be able to drag our shoulders on the ground, but actually we can probably drag our elbows on the ground. We can get that much performance out of the tire and get that low to the ground to do it. It's possible. Your bike's capable of doing that.
Yeah, my friend Justin, he literally was in novice beginning of last season and is now in advance getting ready to race next year and drag an elbow around Gingerman. It's insane to see the progress. It's definitely possible.
Yeah, and he's still on top of the bike dragging his elbow. He's not crashing.
Yeah, no, he's doing it on purpose. Hasn't crashed.
And people always ask, doesn't it hurt your knee when you drag your knee on the ground? Doesn't it hurt your elbow? Well, no, not really. Actually, I have one back here. Here's an old puck, or here's actually a newer puck. I got a couple of them. So I like to run the rain pucks. See how thick that is?
Yeah.
So if you have your knee closer to the tank, it gives you a good idea. You can start to put your knee down, pick it back up, and you know where the ground is. You don't have to have it dragging the whole time. But they're really hard, like a really hard plastic. Some of them are being made out of wood now, like a pressure treated or heat treated wood.
You said it's a rain puck?
Yeah, the rain pucks are just really much thicker than the standard pucks.
What's the point of making a puck for the rain, though?
So the compound is the exact same, but they're just thicker, so that you would essentially have less lean angle, so that you'd have to be higher up on your tire tread, so that it just gets you in that mindset. But I like to have my knees closer to the tank anyways, so it reminds me to pick up my knees more.
Right.
And then a puck like this, that's totally worn out. There's nothing left to it. It's like that's time to be replaced. If you leave it too long, it'll rip off all the Velcro on your knee. You don't want to ruin the Velcro.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, a little show and tell there. But yeah, just hanging out, shooting the shit, see what's going on. That's about an hour and a half already, actually.
Oh shit.
So where can people find you online? Where are you out there in the internet?
I'm at wild_wahine_ on Instagram. Good luck figuring out how to spell that. I'm sure you can link it.
Yeah.
Everybody sees it on the back of my suit and they go, wild Wahine, Wahoon, and I'm like, okay.
Wild Wahine.
Yeah, wild wahine. It's essentially it's pigeon from Hawaii for girl. That's all it is. And then I'm on TikTok with the same username. That's pretty much all of the socials that I do. I'll post a bunch of fundraisers and stuff that I am looking to help out. So
Very good. So if you're looking to help out with human rights and reproductive rights, look out to Sophia Oberlander, Wild Wahine on social media, and I'll be sure to get this posted and edited. I have a couple I gotta still get to before yours, but it'll be probably in a couple weeks.
okay, sounds good. Sweet. Thanks for talking to me.
And I'll see you at the racetrack a couple weeks from now.
All right. See ya.
All right,
Bye.
bye-bye.